Ryan Pool Player Podcast. I'm coming to you from my pool room, obviously, and I don't have my normal setup with microphones and cameras because I just moved all this down here last night, actually in the middle of a dust storm. It was crazy. I don't know if you caught that video, but I was playing pool and the camera was shaking, and it's mounted pretty securely above the garage door. But man, the whole house was like swaying. They said there were 70-mile-per-hour winds in Phoenix. So anyway, I got this big tournament coming up. I don't know if you guys caught it on the Booth Brothers. We had Ozzy Reynolds on from CSI, and Ozzy is, he's a great ambassador for pool. What they're doing with CSI, they've created a series of events with Predator. I think they have like 5 events this year, and the first one is in Tucson, Arizona, and I entered. I was just sitting around the house. I saw it pop up, and I was probably one of the first people to enter it. And then I was like, well, wait a minute, now I got to train for it. So, uh, I thought about it, and we've talked about it on the Booth Brothers and other places. And I'm like, who do I know that could help me kind of get in shape for this? And I thought about my good buddy, my fellow Booth brother, Mark White. And so I asked Mark to join me. And Mark actually just left like a cocktail party. I don't even know what he was doing. But I was like, hey, Mark, get over here. I'm going to shoot some pool, and I want to get your comments on it. So, hey, Mark, how's it going?
Hiya, mate. Yeah, it was actually my sister's birthday party. She's 61 today, and we just had a little barbecue with some friends. But, my sister knows, and all my family knows, and all my friends know that my number one love is pool. Of course, on the level, though, with my family, I must say.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, I turned on the chat here just to see if anybody's popping in. If you guys pop in and you have something, I'll periodically put on the chat. I'm going to do the same format as the tournament, which is 2 races to 4. And the way that I train when I do this is I play the ghost, but I have to envision that the ghost is another top player. So, Efren Reyes, or, back in the day, it was Efren and Earl. I was always playing them. But today I have an interesting opponent, and I think you guys will recognize this opponent. But before I jump in and start playing, Mark, like, what, from a coaching standpoint, what do you typically ask someone like me? This is our first session together. I know you saw me hit some balls last night. Take me through what you witnessed and, maybe some questions that you might have for me.
Yeah, but the first thing I always do with any player is just ask them basically, is there anything wrong with your game that you know? Do you think there's anything wrong with your game? The best way to find out about your own game is to watch yourself. And I honestly, we know each other through the Booth Brothers, but we've never really talked about anything like this before in depth. And I just like to kind of know. I've watched you for the last couple of nights. I was actually watching last night, and I picked up on a few things that I thought I could help you with. And, it is here now because you've got this tournament coming up. And I just think you need to go into, if I'm honest, it's a little bit late now to be starting to, no, but because, what I don't like to do with players is to get them to start transforming their game just before an upcoming tournament. It's not an overnight fix. Trying to break, I don't know how long you've been playing, Joey. I mean, by the way, something I've just written down on a piece of paper last night. I watched you practice, and then I watched the brilliant podcast you did with Tanner Prouse. And I thought, Tanner Prouse. What a guy he is.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved watching that. And I saw a lot of myself in that guy. Now, I always wanted to be a great snooker player and then a pool player. I'm not that good, but what I do have is 51 years of experience in this game, of watching, of listening, of being around the best players in the world constantly, for many, many years, and watching. There's nothing like being up close and watching the way a top pro strokes the ball around. And it's it's kind of now in my mentality where I don't enjoy playing much as I enjoy watching other people playing, because I wouldn't call it a gift, but what I think I can give now to players is I can see everything that I wanted to do myself but wasn't capable of doing. So I can now hopefully put across, because I've been a player, I can actually put it across with some feeling, and you'll often hear me use the word feeling, because feeling is a huge part of this game. And I remember a part of your uh, interview with Tanner was you were talking about what first got you interested in it, because you were into maths and geometry and this kind of thing. And I kind of chuckled at that, because I see no maths, I see no geometry. I just feel
Yeah,
the game. Does that make sense to you?
it does. Let me tell you, you asked a couple questions and then you kind of built off of that. But to answer your questions, so I've been playing pool really since I was 5 years old, and I'm going to be 49 next month. And so for me, uh, there's a lot of things that I do that I've just been doing for so long that I don't even like when people want lessons from me. I'd like to help people out, but the truth is, I don't know a lot of what I do. It just kind of comes natural. And, I've been able to be pretty competitive that way. But what I've noticed is when I was in my 30s, early 30s, probably playing my best pool late 20s, early 30s, uh, was that there was, I guess, the confidence factor made up for a lack of technique. I
Yeah.
felt like I couldn't miss a ball, and I didn't really care about the pressure as much. I kind of just felt like I could just make balls everywhere, and as you call them, pot balls. And as I've gotten older and I've played less because I have things going on in my life, I've found that it's been a little more difficult, to keep a high level of play. And I miss shots that I don't typically miss, that type of thing. So, um, what I know you reached out to me today. You had some thoughts for me. So maybe share that with folks, and so I can hear it one more time before I get up there and hit balls.
Yeah, look, I think when we're young and adventurous and we've got no fear, we don't care if we miss. I'm sure we still miss a whole lot more balls than we actually remember from our youth, because it just doesn't matter so much, because there's always another day. But as you get older, you get less time to play, so time becomes more precious, and we are always looking to play the way we used to play. But the fact of the matter is, Joey, and this is the huge thing in my eyes, if you've got as far as you've got by doing what you've always done, you're never going to get any better. Okay. By carrying on doing the same. So, any sport, tennis players, golfers, I'm sure we've had the conversation about Tiger Woods. He has like a swing coach, and he'll have a putting coach, and he'll have a mental coach and a dietary coach. You know, it doesn't matter how good you are, how much natural ability, and he is probably the most naturally gifted sportsman ever, maybe. I, I'm just using that as an example, right? But he's still looking for that little edge, for something he can tweak, some little thing, whether it's his stance is slightly different or holding the club slightly lower, just something. And as we get older, when we haven't got necessarily the natural ability that we've got, and we haven't got the fearlessness anymore, we now need to hone our ability and get the best out of it. And the only way you can do that is with fundamentals. And you know, so much is spoken about shot routines, about preparation, what is the correct aiming procedure. In in my eyes, I can only speak from experience. And I think, and I've learned from the best, in snooker, and I've been around them, and I am going to hark on about that because it's important, right? And it is, lots of people now talking about the Europeans coming into pool with their brilliant fundamentals and their technique, and that they really are taking over. And I believe, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, beginning to teach the Americans, look, you need to get on board with this, because if you want to raise your game and get the most out of your talent, then you need a little bit of, you need the foundations to rely on when the pressure gets tough. When the going gets really tough and you're on that pressure 8 ball to get to the 9 ball, you need a shot routine that you use all the time. And if something's going wrong, you need to know what to fix, and you need to do it quick. You can't afford to do it in a round of a competition. Sometimes you can't even afford to do it in one rack of a competition. You need to sort it out within 2 or 3 shots if you're lucky to get 2 or 3 shots.
Yeah. So Mark, I have a surprise. You don't know anything about this. I didn't know anything about this till a few seconds ago. But
Right.
before I get to that, I just want to summarize real quick some of the things that you told me this morning.
Yeah.
My backswing was too fast.
Yeah.
I didn't have that little pause in the backswing, and you know, I also did not like chalk my cue back behind the shot and look at it and then set my right foot and get down in position to shoot the shot. And so
Yeah.
I did work on that for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It's hard. It's very unnatural for me. And it sometimes feels like I'm stabbing to the cue ball because I'm going from a still position. And so that's something that I'll be working on over the next couple weeks. But real quick, Mark, as a surprise, when I started my YouTube channel, I was looking at successful YouTubers, people, pool instructors, people like that, and I found a guy named Lil Chris. And I don't know if you've had any interactions with Lil Chris.
Lots.
And he's really cool. And so just when he started watching this, he shot me a message and said, "Hey, can I jump on?" And I'd love to have him on. So let me
Yes.
turn on Lil Chris. Lil Chris, what's up, buddy?
How's it going? It's been a long time, Joey. And Mark, how you doing, bud?
Hey, it's little Chris. We call him the coffee table.
Exactly.
I've commentated with little Chris. We're friends. Yeah.
Oh man.
I don't exactly know how I inherited the coffee table name. It was when I was helping Nate with one of his either it was the Battle of the Sexes or the
Yeah. Yeah.
VB10 or something. But like someone just coined me off as a coffee table, and I just kind of ran with it.
Hey,
Yeah. And
Chris, you like your caption there?
Oh, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know about YouTube legend. I mean, Joe, you should know well enough. I try to humble myself as much as I can with any type of online celebrityism or whatever, because I don't have the following like Dr. Dave Billiards or like Charivari or like Jaden Dupree. Like those are all the guys that are in the 100K plus subscribers. I'm working towards it, but I'm also a working individual. As well. So I don't have the same amount of time to devote to social media like Charivari does it for a living. I do what I can with what I got. But I do appreciate it. And I do appreciate being on the show. It's been a long time since you and I have did our interview for your YouTube channel, which I do still go back and watch from time to time.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I really appreciated you coming on. And, what a lot of people don't realize, Chris, and this is like, you find people in the industry that are just givers and you can connect with them right away. And a lot of people don't realize the 12 o'clock text messages or video calls that we exchange where I'm like, how do I get my videos to do this? Or how do I add an end screen? And you were always there for me and willing to help. And I really appreciated that. And Mark's the same way. He's just a very, like the Booth Brothers show. I don't know if you caught that yet, Chris, but on the Booth Brothers show, like the whole script is done by Mark. I just make the technology work and add a, little line here or there. And so like just being a part of this network of people is just great. So I don't know, Chris, do you want to hang around and watch this ghost session that I'm going to do here? It's going to be a race.
I do, but I also had like a couple of comments to some of the questions that have been going on, and these are just my opinions.
Mhm.
And I can't say like my opinions mean anything because I'm only like last time I checked my Fargo rating was like a 636. So I come from an average pool player standpoint. And, you know, there's the stigma that if you're not a professional, your opinion probably doesn't really mean anything. But
I don't think 636 is average, Chris, by any means. You know, I mean, you run.
I mean, that's fair. That's just how I look at it. You know, when there's so many players that are 700 pluses that can just like run me over, and then of course your top professionals and stuff. And the main comment I wanted to address was the idea of when Mark said about how the Europeans are basically kind of taking over. And I wouldn't
knew you were gonna grab that one.
I don't. Well, the reason is I don't want to just classify it as Europeans, because that just happens to be the statistic of it all. You can't, in my opinion, you can't dispute the discipline of a person. And that person can be European, that person can be Asian, that person can be Indian. I mean, it doesn't matter where they come from. I mean, like the Coe brothers, they're not European, right?
Yeah.
But they have the discipline to be who they are, to be the players that they are. It doesn't matter if you're a man, doesn't matter if you're a woman. You know, it just happens to be that the statistics right now are heavily favored by the Europeans in the way that they're coming up with the youths and everything else. But at the end of the day, if a person has the discipline, and I do agree with the statements of, can you even self-identify what is wrong with your game? Yeah. Because if you can't, especially if you get an outside opinion, if someone were to say to you, this is your problem, and you're like, no, it's not, you're your own problem. I mean, you're asking for the open criticism and whatnot, and you're not even willing to accept the open criticism. So therefore, how could you even possibly attempt to move on in your game? And any self-disciplined person can apply that to anything. That was mainly the comment that I wanted to put that on. Again, just my opinion of it all. And it doesn't matter what the sport is, doesn't matter what the activity is. It's really all just going to boil down to the individual and the self-discipline that they have for themselves to want to be better.
Absolutely right. And look, I'm not talking about Europeans solely. I'm talking from a European standpoint because that's what everyone's talking about at the moment. And just to go back to the Asian thing, the Chinese and the Taipei, the Coe brothers. I have a long history in snooker, and I was part of when the Matchroom made big moves to snooker to the Chinese back in the 80s, when you had all the big names there going over and introducing the game of snooker to the Chinese. They didn't really play snooker at the time, and all of a sudden there was this huge surge in popularity of cue sports in China, certainly in snooker, where pool halls or snooker halls were opening up with 150, 200 tables in them, and they were taught the European way. So that is the only reason that I made the same sort of comparison, that the Europeans, I'm talking about the English snooker side of things, when they took snooker to the Far East over back in the 1980s and such, and that is where a lot of the technique of the Asians today comes from, and why there's so many Chinese and Thai snooker players and that coming into the game of snooker and cue sports in general.
Well, I didn't get a chance to tell you guys this before we got started. These are all great thoughts. But right behind that teal color door are 3 little kids and a wife. And they don't really know that I'm doing this. So they're about to bust the door open at any time. So I got to get to this practice session.
Go for it.
You guys want to stay? I mean, I'm going to be able to hear you. So you guys could even commentate if you want. I don't know. Chris, I don't know if you caught it, but when I practice and I play the ghost, I have to imagine an opponent, right? I can't just do it. I'm just playing anybody. And so I have an opponent here for this match. Let me bring up the table here. Let me see if I can do this. There's the table. And let's see if I can find the opponent here. Here we go. You guys see that? I thought, hey, who's been on the podcast? Who's an amazing player, maybe the best in the world? And I settled on this guy. So if I beat him, don't send him a message or anything and say you heard he lost to me, but let's just see what happens. Okay. So this tournament in Tucson is 2 races to 4. Okay. It's the WPA rules of 8 ball and I'm 10 ball. Sorry. And I think it's going to be using the Predator balls. So I should have got those out, but I'm using the Dynasphere balls here. And so, if you guys want to comment on it or whatever, the gray ball is a 6 ball, the teal ball is a 7 ball. Okay. And so I'm just going to start. And here's my modified ghost rules that I've settled on lately. If I break a ball in, great. I get ball in hand, I run out. If I don't make a ball, but I don't scratch, I shoot the cue ball from where it lies. So I could still run out and get a point, but I don't get the benefit of getting ball in hand if I don't make a ball in the break.
Make a ball. Okay.
Yeah. And then obviously if I scratch on the break or anything like that, I'm done. Okay.
It's interesting that you just said that, because I'm about to be preparing for the Texas State Open, which I recently just found out is going to be template rack 9 on the spot. And I think the 3-point rule is going to be in effect. And I haven't really done a whole lot of 9-ball pull with the 9 on the spot. And so the way I was going to start practicing that against the ghost was kind of going to be the exact opposite of what you're describing, meaning that when I break, if I make a ball, I'm not going to take ball in hand, because that's literally what you're going to do in a match, like literally. But if I don't make a ball, then I was going to try to take ball in hand and try to run the table. That was at least what was my practice session that's going to start looking like as I start to prepare for the Texas State Open.
Yeah. So Chris, I know you have an 8-foot table. This is an 8-foot table. It's 4¼ inch pockets, and the cloth is just old enough that it's really tightened up considerably. And so my logic with that is there's a lot of times where I'll break a 10-ball rack and I'll hit the point of the side pocket, I'll come very close and just need to make a subtle adjustment. And I didn't want to punish myself by, not allowing myself to still run out and get a point there. Because you remember,
that's fair.
You remember the last time I played the Ghost, if I didn't make a ball in the break, loss.
Right, because that was the VG10 rules. I mean, because essentially, if you're playing the Ghost, the moment you miss, which includes the break, you've lost the game. Like that would be the general idea against the top rated player in the world, because they're going to run out. You basically lost your turn.
Right. And so I went down in flames. I think I might have started 2 or 3-0 on the Ghost, and he came back and beat me like 7-5 or something. But let's see how this goes. Okay, guys?
Sure. Joey, just very quickly before you go to the table, you could just nip through the chat comments quickly, because there's a couple of people just be quite nice to just go through the chat very quickly.
Hey, what's up, Bang Time? Yeah, if I lose the Fedor Ghost, play Lil Ghost next. That's a good idea. I like that. He's in Florida, so hey,
Casper the Ghost.
Slip Stroke, how's it going, man? Yeah, Slip Stroke. That's interesting, because we're working on my stroke today. We'll see if we can get something, not a slip stroke, but something like a little smoother backswing, slower backswing. And see how things are going. So that's about it for right now, Mark.
And actually, since I have one more thing, and then go ahead and get going here, because again, I'm just expressing opinion on the pause. There's the debate on, do you pause at the front, do you pause at the back, and what's the reasoning? And we can maybe talk about this later. Of, do you look at the cue ball or do you look at the object ball on the final stroke?
Oh.
And I heard Mark say about the pause being in the back, and I've seen it plenty of times, and I'm certainly not going to say that's wrong. My only opinion is the reason why I don't do it is because in my opinion, at least for me, it disrupts my stroke. So I pause at the cue ball and then in one fluid motion go back and forward, instead of coming back, pausing, which means my motion is now interrupted, and then I have to go forward. So that could be that could be another discipline thing, something I could probably easily fix if I were to work on it. But that's always been the reasoning for me as to why, when I'm going through all my practice strokes and then I pause at the cue ball and then one fluid stroke, go back and then go forward.
Let's talk about that real quick, Chris, because that's exactly how I play. And I feel like when I do that, I address the cue ball better. I feel like I have the backward momentum, and then I stroke forward and I can make a nice solid stroke. But I have seen a lot of people doing the pause stroke, and Mark talking to me about it. One of the things that we discussed, and I think is spot on, is I've been playing pool for 40 years and I've gotten to a pretty good level, but I haven't gotten over that hump. And in fact, I've started to decline a little, and I'm missing shots I shouldn't miss. And so now it's either time to reconstruct.
I think that's called old age.
Yeah. Old age.
I'm just joking.
Eyesight, all of it. But now I think we're at the point where if I don't try something different and drastic, I'm probably only going to get tiny incremental gains. even with the amount of work I do. So I'm going to give this a try, and maybe we can discuss it. And I'm probably going to dog a ball because, and Mark brought this up this morning. He's like, once you get down on the ball and you come back with that stroke, you're looking at the object ball only. But I think, Chris, it confuses me when I do that pause. And sometimes I go back to the cue ball because I'm like, I don't have that back to forth where I know I'm going to hit the cue ball in the right place. So I quickly look at the cue ball and then I miss it.
Yeah.
I'm going to practice what Mark guided me through today, which
let me just say, Joey, you cannot change 41 years of stroke
Absolutely
in one day, right? It's going to be completely alien to you. And a lot of people, even hearing Chris, now I know Chris is a very accomplished player. I've watched him coaching. Look, we've all got different opinions. One thing that works for one player won't necessarily work for another. It's a question of taking as much knowledge as you can from everywhere you can and then working with what works for you. I've heard Chris talk about which Paul on the cue ball before he comes back for his final shot. If that works for you, there's lots of people that works for, some world champions that works for. But if it's not working for you, then what we tend to do is something that ruined my game was I went to a coach and I went to see somebody play live and they said, this is how you have to play. And I changed my whole style to the way this player played, and it completely ruined my game because it wasn't my natural timing to do that. I couldn't do it. It was impossible. Just the way Joey's saying that now. But you can't say it after just one session. You need to work with it. I always say work with it for 1 or 2 weeks. See what it does for you. And then the next thing I say to a player is, right, forget everything that I've told you. Now just play the way you want to play. And then what you find is that they've incorporated a little bit of what you said and mixed it with the natural ability and the pretty good technique that they've already got. So sometimes just mixing and matching things together, can make you a much better player.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. There's no truer statement. Like you said, Joey, if you've got 40 years of habits and you are where you are and you don't feel that you're progressing anymore, clearly it's time to try something different. There's definitely no disputing that. And then, like you said, Mark, some things work for some people, some things don't work for other people. But like you said, you have to try it out because you're never going to know until you do.
No, exactly right.
And Mark, that's not what you told me when I hired you. You said by this evening I'd be playing 3 balls better. I don't know. All right, let me.
But okay, look, and if you want me to be really truthful, yes, that's the way it would have happened. But, and I mean this quite honestly now, because little Chris has come in and put a little bit of doubt into what I was trying. Had you have heard me today and Chris tomorrow, then maybe you could have taken 2 different opinions and gelled those 2 things together. Instead, now we're mixing up your head with what I was going to say, and now Chris is coming in with what he's going to say.
All I care about right now, since I know Joey can hear us, is that Rick says to not think about the 2 ball that you missed with Carl Boys.
So, little Chris. So what do you think? Shall we just commentate on this as if we're commentating on a game and give our opinions?
Or
what do you want to do?
I don't know, since he can hear us. I don't want to distract him.
He knows, and I'm only here. I've left a party.
Okay, he's giving us a thumbs up, so I mean that's fine.
Yeah, I mean I've left a party to come and do this, so let's do it. That's a pretty good break there. Controlled the cue ball very nicely.
All right.
So ball in hand?
No, I didn't make a ball.
I'll take ball in hand, man.
I already have one comment on the break, but we can talk about it later.
No, say now.
Well, just because he's about to take his first shot, so I don't want to distract him.
Oh, okay.
That looks pretty good and smooth.
He's going to go 2 rails here, I guess. he just went one, drew it off. Nice.
Now that's I see a bit of a mixture here, because you're gonna have to tell me how this actually works, Mark, because he's pausing at the front like he normally does, and then he certainly exaggerates his pause in the back to make sure that it's still there,
Yeah.
and then actually shoots. Is that the way it normally works, or is it supposed to be fluid as you go back for your final stroke and then pause and then go
No,
forward? Like,
I mean
what's the
the way
typical technique?
the way he's doing it is absolutely fine, because he's incorporating a bit of what he already does. And I actually like doing both though. I actually like the pause on the front and on the backswing, if I'm
Gotcha.
totally honest. Chris, I always liken it to driving a car, right? I was taught this when I was 14 years old, and never forget it. And I used to be like this, like come back and then straight through again. And somebody described it to me like driving a car. You would never be in reverse in a car and then all of a sudden ram the gear shift into first and then try and go forward smoothly, because you're going to jolt and it's not going to be. And I just think it gives you that extra little bit of time to then go. And I think you can get more feeling for the shot.
I like that analogy with the car.
He's fluked it. He's got
That
lucky.
worked out.
That worked. But you see when we joke here, but when you actually cue it smoother, when you're cueing well, even if you're a little bit not accurate, you still seem to make the ball. The pocket will accept it. I mean, I took it off another ball. It's not the same. But to me now, he looks a lot more controlled than he did last night. He looks professional, looks much more in control, and he's actually directing. So he's actually feeling it. He's placing that cue ball, and the thing that I've told Joey that I haven't actually told you is that the whole shot routine, and it's about actually playing the shot in reverse, feeling standing behind the shot like he is now, chalking you while you're looking right. Where do I want the cue ball to go next? How do I get it there? Is it low left? Okay, low left. So get down. Now he's concentrating 100% on pushing his cue through to the object ball. And he's going to get his cue all the way through now. And the position is just going to come anyway, because you're not going to make the cue ball do something different by concentrating on the cue ball. You might do, but you're going to miss the pot. Your concentration must be 100% on the pot, and because you've already chosen the position in your mind and played it, then you just have to concentrate on that beautiful smooth cue action. Keep your head down and get your cue through to that object ball.
I was going to say, to be fair with your own comment, though, you can't really make that kind of a judgment just on one rack, right? Because your statement that you said earlier was that if he were to try this and it just doesn't work out, well, you can't say like it doesn't work out because you've only tried it just once. So I'm using your own argument against you, that you're saying that you're seeing him run one rack with all these tidbits and whatnot, and it appears to be working just on this one rack.
It is working, yeah.
But then how is it going to work for the rest? Because if he weren't doing the suggestions and still doing this, would you still have the same opinion?
Yeah, no, because he's doing it a different way. He's totally in control of what he's doing, and he looks a different player. And I'll tell you something now.
Good run out, Joey.
The reason he looks a different player is because he's listening to all that we're saying, and he is concentrating 100% on doing all those things right. Now, after all, Chris, is this not what fundamentals and technique is all about?
Sure.
Doing the same thing repetitively, so that when something's going wrong with your game, it's quite quick. You can change 1 to 5 things of what's going wrong with your game. For example, just say 1 to 5.
Well, the reason why I asked that, though, is because I'm gonna have a bit of a hard time, maybe just admitting to myself that the pause in the back is really making all that big of a difference, or is it the focus that he has on this set here by adding the extra fundamentals that he's trying to do into it? Because we're talking about a change in focus here, not a change in mechanics, because Joey's already a great player. but he's more focused now with what he's doing because he is trying to add something new. But can he maintain that same focus without adding another step to his pre-shot routine? That's basically where my comment comes from. I'm not disputing. I'm not that. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not going to dispute that maybe the pause in the back of the stroke is going to have some type of effect. I'm not going to dispute that. But like I said, if this is causing him to focus more, and he's the one that's going to have to admit all of that, then that's fine. But again, go back to his original way of playing, but try to apply the same amount of focus that he's doing right now by adding a new mechanic. And do you end up with the same result, or do you end up with a different result?
Right. Let me just, without complicating it, which I believe you are, I believe you're complicating the process that I'm trying to get Joey to do.
Okay.
The cue sports are quite a simple thing, right? You need a straight cue action, you need a smooth cue action, you need to know the angle of the shot, and you need to be able to judge the pace of what you're playing that shot at, right? That's basically cue sports, right?
Yes.
Yes, right.
Yes.
So if you can do as many things, if you can get as many things online, and this is where it starts from, Chris, it starts from even before he comes to the table, he's looking. This is what I've been trying to explain. See, now I can see exactly what he's played there. He's played the position. He's thinking of the cue ball. Where the cue ball's going to go. I can see that in where the 3 ball went, where he was playing it into the corner. He was playing the cue ball, not the object ball. He didn't finish the shot.
Okay, but that's got nothing to do with his stroke mechanics.
It's got everything to do with his stroke mechanics. Because,
what you described was a thought process. He's thinking more about the next shot and not the shot at hand.
No, you're misunderstanding because you haven't been privy.
Who can play pool with you guys arguing like this?
No, all I'm saying is, Chris hasn't been privy to the complete shot routine, and this is where the danger comes in because the only thing he knows about that I've talked to you about is the pause, and it's not just that; it's the whole shot routine, which is important.
Let me jump in, guys, because the first rack I paused on every shot except the 10 ball. It's like I got nervous and I reverted, But I think to Chris's point, it's a small sample size. You can't claim victory on the pause, but also to Mark's point, it's a whole package deal.
Yeah.
Where I think probably the biggest thing that helped me in the first rack was like taking the time to step back and look at the shot and then step into the shot.
Yeah.
I did have a couple balls there that I didn't hit totally pure with that pause because it's still very uncomfortable for me.
Right.
But I think the total package so far is showing some promise here. So 1-to-1, I missed that 3 ball and it was a little uncomfortable. I don't know if you guys saw it. I had to make the 3 and avoid that other solid to get down table, or that other, whatever it was, the 6 ball.
And there is the answer. That's exactly what I was talking about. Your focus was on the cue ball and having to make that cue ball avoid that particular ball. Look, if you're looking at the shot from back and you're standing there chalking your cue and having a look, if that shot isn't possible, if it's a really difficult shot to play, that particular shot, to miss that ball that you was afraid of hitting, choose a different shot. Don't play that shot.
Hey, wait a minute. You didn't tell me, Mark, that was Rick Glasscock who said that. He's a buddy of mine. He's bringing that up. I can't believe it.
What's that? I didn't say anything.
No, when he said that don't miss the 2 ball.
That was me that said that, Joey.
That's Chris. That's Chris.
So if we're talking about a pre-shot routine package, then yes, I absolutely agree with what you're talking about, because consistency. I mean, that's at least one of the biggest things that I preach. As long as you're consistent. If there's a lack of consistency in your pre-shot routine, and I do like to describe it as rhythm. as well, because it's very easy to shorten your pre-shot routine on what is perceived to be an easier shot, and then to lengthen
Yes,
your pre-shot
absolutely
routine on
agree.
what is considered to be a
Yep,
harder shot.
yep, agree.
But I would argue that the rhythm should remain constant regardless of the difficulty of the shot. But
Absolutely
it's
correct.
it's a
Absolutely
very
right.
natural thing that, like I said, your pre-shot routine will be shortened or lengthened depending upon the difficulty of the shot. So
I would never say that.
if the whole
Never.
package that we're talking about here is not just the pause and we're talking about a pre-shot
No,
routine, yes, I absolutely agree.
that's what I was saying, Chris. Look, I would love, I could even send it to you. I sent Joey a voice message of what I perceive to be the perfect pre shot routine for every single shot, regardless of how difficult it is. Because the best way to deal with the scenario of, you know, is that that shot's easier than the other. No, there is never any easy shot on a pool table, because if you don't do everything right that you need to do right, then any shot's missable.
Yep, correct.
So come on then. I want to hear you, Chris. I want to hear you now. I want to hear your views, because this is interesting. I love this. This is why I'm interested in Paul.
For what my views on the pre-shot routine?
Oh yeah.
Well, like I said, I agree with the consistency of things, to where like because and this is coming from a person that used to do exactly what I was talking about, to where like I don't really think about shots that are easy. I just kind of just run through it and get the position that I want. And then if it's a harder shot, then I take a little bit more time. And I've gotten to some case. I don't do it all the time because I'm just not perfect. But if I'm straight in on the 9-ball, and playing a game of 9-ball, or even whatever, if I'm straight in on the money ball, I don't just get down and shoot the shot. I'm standing back. I'm looking at the shot. I step into the shot. I take my normal three practice strokes that I typically like to preach.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I do my pause at the front and then do my fluid backstroke.
Yeah.
Even if the ball is just dead easy for me, where,
Yeah.
like I said, anybody else can look at that and just get down and just one stroke the ball, and they just say, let's just start the next rack. I do try more and more not to do that, but then every now and again, I mean, I still slip up and just be like, whatever, because like I could be practicing with friends or whatever. But I do try to keep it consistent as much as possible. And when I do bring that attitude into like my normal practice sessions, like with my teammates or anything else, my teammates even start to notice that. But I also have to try to assess situations. And when I notice that if I'm basically just running over my teammates in practice, that they're not having fun and they're not learning. So therefore, I know that I have to also pull it
Let
back.
me
And
let
that's
me let me let me just jump in there quick, Joey. Just set that shot up again, please. Joey, just set that pot up again,
Huh?
because that was a prime example of you trying to move the cue ball to you. All you were thinking about then was the cue ball, and that's why you missed it on the thin side, because your eyes moved to where
I
you wanted the cue ball to go, and you
I
caught
think
it.
I think I missed it because of the just not being accustomed to that pause. And it gives me time to think. It gives me time to be a little nervous about it. Just, and this is the thing I'm going to have to overcome. Mark, are you okay? You're not going to croak on us, are you?
No, no, no.
Okay. This is the thing I'm going to have to overcome if I do insert this pause into my game, where it's just that split second extra that you're thinking about it. Right.
No.
And so when I don't pause, it's just like routine. It's my routine. Boom, 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 boom.
And the only thing I can say that I'm in agreement of what you're saying, and this is not to say that pausing in the back is the wrong thing to do. It's the simple fact of you're trying something new. And I say this to everybody that's taken my advice, even here in my local area. When you try something new, your game is going to go down. Like that's a
Absolutely.
very natural thing until you work through what we're talking about here, because it's going to be very easy to go, well, crap, I'm playing a lot worse. So therefore, whatever I'm trying sucks. And I agree with you, Mark. That is not the right attitude to look at it. You have to give it its due diligence to see if it really does do what it's supposed to do, to see if it actually does have some benefit. And we already talked about this before. When your sample size is large enough and you realize that even through your struggles, you had some setbacks, but next thing you know that your sample size was large enough that there was more benefit, that there was more positive than there was negative, then you really start to assess, oh, I need to actually add this more and more into my game.
Absolutely. See, that was a much more.
Well, there's no
Then no, but because you knew what you did before, you were trying to move the cue ball. Joey, please, 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 please listen to this, because this is the most important thing I'll ever say to you, right? When you are on your final backswing, okay, I'm not saying pause for any considerable amount of time. I'm just mean don't come back and go straight forward again. Just come back and let your arm stop and then go.
Yeah.
You were not concentrating on the pot. I looked and saw in your arm. I saw your arm move because you were trying to steer the cue ball off the side rail back over to where it is now. And that's why you missed the ball thin, because you were trying to move the cue ball. My whole shot routine is you played a shot in reverse, Joey. You've chosen where you're going to strike the cue ball. You know, if you strike the cue ball below centre there, and maybe you played it with a little bit of right as well, low right, okay, you know when you pot that cue ball, the cue ball's going to come off the side rail and come back over to the position it is now. You must, though, concentrate on the pot, not getting the cue ball off the side rail. And that's why you missed that pot thin. 100%. Honest.
I mean, I get that, but it also sounds like pretty elementary. You could say that about every shot I miss.
And that's where I would agree with that. Because, like, I'm not saying that you're wrong, Mark, but I can just sum that all up by saying he missed the shot because he overcut the shot.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He missed it because he was his eyes moved to what, okay, we didn't see there because we were behind him. But the reason he missed the ball thin was because his eyes flicked to the cue ball and where the cue ball's going. If you listen to any commentary, when a player misses a ball, particularly in snooker or maybe 14-1 even, when they're trying to nudge another ball out of the way, when they're playing a little carom onto another ball, and we've all done it, our eyes will move over to have we made the cannon, and they go earlier and earlier. And if you haven't concentrated 100% on pushing your cue through to the object ball, your eyes move there. That's where your cue's going to go.
That's fair.
This is Chris. I would love to have a private discussion with you where we talk about technique and we both share views.
Sure.
I just want to introduce a different way of thinking about it. And on the other hand, I'm of course really, really interested on hearing because who know, I'll get something from you as well. I know that.
Sure. I'm always up for open discussions. So that's Fedor Ghost 4 to Joey's 1. So the thing that I wanted to comment on the break, because I see Joey, I see your
Yes.
burn spot on where you break from, and again, this is just not saying like this is the wrong way to do it or whatever. This is an observation. If anybody was watching these 5 racks, the balls that were in the third row, because you're breaking so close to the middle of the table, they go straight to the side. They kind of curve back up, but then they collide with one another. And so that is probably going to be where you have most of your issues on your layout, is the balls that are in the third row coming together, unless you break hard enough to where you separate them, or like on your last rack, they collided and split. So I've observed that in my own practice of breaking 10 ball, and I've also observed it when the pros were doing it, that when they break more from the middle of the table, that the balls that are in the third row will separate and then come back together and almost create a clutter. The more you start to move towards the corners of the box, depending upon what side you break from, the more those 2 balls get altered in their course, while everything else almost remains constant. Like it doesn't really change. So since, Joey, you're breaking on your right side of the table, what I'm suggesting is if you move a little further away to the right, and what is that, the 7 ball that's greenish?
The 7 and 5.
Yeah, so I'm willing to bet that the 7 ball will bend more towards the opposite side pocket when it banks, and then your 2 ball, that's the ball next to the corner ball, will bank to the corner pocket from which you're breaking from, while you still have the corner balls will go their 4-rail routes and head towards their respective corner pockets, and the balls that are in the second row will also head towards their respective side pockets. It's the balls that are in the third row that seem to be very manipulative on where you break from on the table. And during your whole set, because you were doing it more from the middle of the table, I couldn't help but notice again how they just separate and then they just come right back together.
I'll move it like a half-inch increments, move it out, and try that. I honestly, I don't look that deep at it. I don't look at third ball. I look at where those second two are going and if they're getting sides or not. And sometimes, frankly, I forget by the time I break the next one.
Yeah, just to come in here, I will stay out of this conversation completely because I don't feel that I have the knowledge of breaking. I mean, Chris, and I've heard many people, talking about the break and where the balls are going. I honestly have never studied that. I am not a person that can tell you the right drills to practice. I am totally technique fundamental orientated. So I would never.
This one because at one point during that, so I every good pool player has to have a lot of excuses why they lost, right? So I lost Fedor Ghost that time for a couple different reasons. One, I haven't got my AC hooked up in the garage yet, and it's like, I mean, it is hot. Woo.
Two, you've got two personalities bantering in the back of your head,
arguing the whole time about like proper technique. So like, how about this? How about you guys commentate like what's going on or what you think about a shot, which you guys started doing. It was so funny. Like the first game, you're like, should he hit those 2 rails? Yeah, maybe. Oh, hit it 1 rail. That's great. And then boom. Okay. Yeah. So commentate this one. And then afterwards, we'll have the philosophical debate. Because I need to win this set to come back and force a spot shot tiebreaker with Fedor Ghost. Okay.
Let's see it then. Let's see it then.
So good evening. Welcome to Joey Ryan in his non-AC garage playing against Fedor Ghost. And with me in the commentary box, Chris Sherrier. Good evening, Chris. Oh, that's a nice breaker. No! Oh, no!
There, we're good.
That was a nasty
But
kiss.
You see what I mean? He moved just ever so slightly to the right of his burn mark, and then look where the 7 ball is. It's closer to the side pocket. So the further away he moves, then that ball becomes a potential ball to drop.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to bow to your greater knowledge on the shot selection and certainly the breaking, because you're obviously a connoisseur of that, and I honestly don't profess to know anything about that. So I'm going to watch the fundamentals, and he's got a nice angle on this. Probably just come round off 2 rails, leave the 3 into the side, or will he play into the corner? What do you reckon, Chris?
The side.
Yeah, nicely played.
4 balls just sitting right there. He's going to want to probably draw back a little bit so that way when he plays 4 in the upper left, he can go to the side rail to get the shape on the 5 that's sitting next to the 10.
Yeah, so now I'm hoping that he's standing behind this and he's felt the shot, so now he just needs to put a nice smooth stroke on this, keep that head still and get the cue nicely through.
Okay, so the angle was too steep to hold for the position that I'm talking about.
Yeah. He played that okay. Would have been nice to either go a little bit further.
You see, what he's looking at now is the positioning that I was talking about for the 5 ball if he actually had to cut to the 4 in the corner pocket. Joey, are you taking early 10 balls?
Yeah, it's WPA.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one of those awkward cueing. He's probably going to have to use is that the 6 ball next to the, I can't really make out these colours yet. So keep that head still, Joey. So now he needs to put a shot on this. Once again, though, on the line. Low on the cue ball.
Should get a little help from the 10 ball, it looks like.
Yeah.
There's the help from the 10. It's got the spin, just not really the speed.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to be queuing over this again, but, well, once again, it's a makeable shot, Chris. Just needs to centre ball striking, 100% concentration on
Now,
the
I'm usually
7.
torn between these shots here, because do you try to spin it 2 rails, short rail, long rail, for the 7 in the side pocket, or do you reduce the right spin and actually come 3 rails, come behind the 8 and the 10, and have a more natural angle at the 7 in the side?
Yeah, I'm not putting any spin on this. I'd even consider playing it in the top right pocket, to be honest. More natural. I think that's what he might be doing, actually. More difficult pot. I'm playing this to the top left, if I'm honest. He's going top right. Oh, he's a long way off. Yeah, wrong shot in my
You're a
eyes.
long way off, Joey.
He's a long way off.
I only missed it by 5 inches.
That would have gone in on some tables.
I thought I would do the top left, but the problem with the top left was that I didn't have as comfortable a queuing position.
Sure, because you had to bridge over. You had to bridge over the balls. Yeah,
I had to bridge over them both ways, but it just felt a little better that way, and I just drastically undercut it. Now back to the excuses. We did have a monsoon come through last night. There's a lot more humidity. The balls stick together when that happens, and that's why I undercut that ball. Thanks. All right, Chris.
You shouldn't have been there anyway. The damage was done 2 shots previous. Great break. Great break.
Nicely done.
I think that did the trick, Chris.
I would maybe suggest moving just another ½ inch over, maybe.
Really? You're a perfectionist, huh?
Yes. Because you should be making the ball that's in the second row. Like these are the common balls that I've seen drop, depending upon what side that you break from. It'll be the ball that's in the second row, opposite from the side that you're breaking from. But the in your case, in the opposite third ball is going to bank to the cross side pocket. The ball that's in the 4th row that banks towards the corner pocket comes into play, and then one of the corners. So you have 4 other balls that are in play that also yield a better spread.
Stay down on the shot, Joey. You're not completing the shot, mate. Stay down.
Gosh, this guy is like killing me, this Mark White.
Just stay down and finish the shot. You know, it's part of the shot. You haven't finished the shot.
Yeah.
Deceleration.
That one I kind of feel like if I don't pause there, that's not an issue. So something's going wrong on that pause for me. Which,
well, your buddy Rick says your next excuse is going to be that your shoestrings are too tight.
I'm making these layouts a lot harder. When I was down on that 2 ball, I thought, this is one of these that I should really get up and look at, because
did you want to draw back for the 3 in the side, or did you mean
I wanted to make it, see these pockets coming down there like that, they're pretty tight. And so sometimes I'll overcut that ball a little and rattle it. and
And you
slide the cue
didn't.
ball over. And I was a little concerned about sliding the cue ball over there.
Yeah.
I did want to slide it over a couple inches, so I was pretty much straight in on the ball in the corner, and it just
Gotcha.
You actually potted the three. You actually potted the two ball a bit too thick, Joey.
Yeah. All right, guys, this is embarrassing.
No, it's not. It's learning.
Learning is never embarrassing.
It's never embarrassing or a waste of time.
That was another half inch.
Let me look at what, because I have the Facebook play up. How did your cue ball address the head ball? Let's see.
Perfect. Okay. So remember, I got to shoot it from where it lies. So I'm gonna play the 9.
One into the bottom left. Oh, you're playing the 9 carom.
Yeah.
Okay. You might even make the 1 ball as well, but you've called the 9, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. One's going pretty close.
That's a good shot.
Told you the one's going pretty close.
Except for that part. Can you see it?
Yeah, you can see that.
Can't really tell with the 10 and the 7.
It's a little tricky here.
Yeah, this is where you need to put a really nice stroke on this. I was just going to top stun it, Joey. Be nice if we can get some bottom on it. Yeah, I like that.
Nicely done.
He's on it.
Just so everybody in the chat knows, Rick, I am not Chris now Reinhold. My name is Chris Shire. I am not I don't know how, when he was called Chris, when he was going by Chris Robinson, I don't know how a lot of people seem to mistake me for him, but now he goes by Chris Reinhold, and that's not me.
Nice shot. Nice feeling there, Joey. You're on it. You're on it now.
No.
That's a severe back cut to the side pocket. If you.
Oh, sorry, I've got the wrong one. I thought it was I thought the 3 ball was over the corner pocket.
Should I play the billiard again?
Well, what else have you got?
If you do, you kind of lose position on the 3, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna bank it.
Cut it.
I like the bank, and if your cue ball was where your stick was that you just laid on the table, then I like the cut.
It's too sharp, Mark.
Nobody saw that.
Dang.
They had 3 attempts at it.
Okay, what's the score? Did I update the score?
Well, I thought this one would be 0-2. No?
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I thought it was 3 for some reason. You know, that's a shame because I made a nice save off that 1 ball. Guys, if I can't beat the ghost sooner or later, I'm going to have to switch to 6 ball.
Well, we all got to start somewhere.
Yeah, Mark, you must have been looking at the 5 when I was playing shape for the 3.
Yeah, I thought the colours aren't looking too good from on my screen.
Now, if you try to do the same thing that you did last time, Joey, as far as the break is concerned, when I watched your cue ball on the replay, I would suggest adding just a touch more topspin.
One ball. A little fortunate, boys. All right, I'm getting down here.
I can watch the replay. The 4 ball went its 4 rail route. The 1 ball going to the corner is actually what it's supposed to do. That's normally what you're going to be trying to set up for. since you're breaking on the right side of the table, you expect the one ball to hopefully park itself somewhere over by the opposite corner pocket. Whoops. We'll call that TV pressure.
This is terrible. Well, you know why I missed that? Do you?
I was just gonna say just a mishap. I mean, everybody does it, but I would also say, like, how often do you actually practice on the internet? Because that adds another layer of pressure.
It's my second time in life. No, but what happened there is I think the right shot was to shoot that 2-ball in the corner and come one rail out with a little bit of low left, if you know what I mean. And then I changed that at the last minute to shoot in the side.
Yeah.
Like,
you should have got up and started
Going
again.
with your original thought. I mean, I personally liked the shot into the side pocket and then stunning over for the position that you pretty much got. But going with your initial thought is usually always a plus instead of changing your mind.
Okay, 4 in a row, boys.
Yeah, but let me just jump in there. You know, the whole thing that we came online to do, you're not doing anymore because you're not playing this. I'm talking about the pre-shot routine. I haven't come on here now to talk about breaking and shot selection or anything like that. I've come on here purely to talk about shot preparation and routine. And you're not doing any of it, Joe, because you're not even playing the right shot. You're just playing it too quick. There's no feeling going in. All those things we talked about. There's none of that happening. And because you've got overload of information at the moment.
Yeah, maybe. I am trying to still do the pause part.
Yeah, but you're now mixing it up with what Chris was talking about. I'm not talking about the pause. I'm talking about the whole shot routine. It's the whole thing. Don't just bring it down to the pause. It's not just the pause.
Mark, I'm trying, buddy. Okay.
Then try harder.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's the pressure of coaching.
That cue through.
I went the wrong way. See, that's okay. So that's a good example, Mark. And I want you to put this one in. I'm going to cut the 2-ball in and run out. But from the student standpoint, I want you to just listen to this and then chew on it, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
So that's a shot where I'm shooting a ball that's straight in the corner. It's a hanger in the corner, and I got to draw. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to be precise with that, right? When I pause, I feel like I'm less precise. I draw back, and the cue ball hits the wrong side of the ball where I drew back. I intended to draw back on the other side of the 5. And instead, I drew back into traffic over here and overdrew it, you know? And so there's some glitch in my stroke where when I hold it back there for that extra half a second, and it comes out on a shot like that where precision is key. A lot of people are like, oh, the ball's a hanger in the corner. You made it. What's the big deal? Well, you guys know if you have to draw off that ball, I mean, a 16th of an inch could be life or death there, you know? And so I hit a 16th of an inch to the right, and I drew back into traffic where I needed to hit it a 16th inch to the left, and I would have drawn back to the center of the table, you know?
So you're saying, that's down to the pause, is it? Or what is it down to?
I've noticed that when I pause, I'm less accurate on those. So I don't know if it's something because, you know, like we've put a lot of stock in the pause. We've talked a lot about that today. But like, if you could see from behind, maybe there's something where when I do that pause, the arm kind of goes in or out a fraction one way or the other that it wouldn't normally do if it was in motion back and forth, you know? So just think about that. Maybe look for that.
I'm looking.
Well, Christoph.
Wow.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
What a
Except the
shot.
three ball.
Where's your
Thin
jump
cut
cue?
shots like that are so amazing.
Better
Where,
go-
hey, where's the propel?
No, I gave that away.
He's giving it away. I hear the zipper.
It's such a smooth shot when a ball is cut like 80 plus degrees.
All right, I have to go to the trusty Steve Lomax. This could be an early day, boys.
Howdy hit it.
Oh.
And for the love of God, somebody clip Joey going, oh! And then you can add my clip on top of that. That was a great shot, Joey.
Thank you.
Terrific shot.
I can't see
Terrific
the four.
You can't see the four. Oh.
Gotta kick it.
It's just a 2-rail kick to the corner, right?
You know, I don't like the 2-rail. I guess I could, but man, that's brutal.
I say that facetiously. This is not an easy shot.
Yeah, if he gets right behind it, I don't know if there's room to get right, but if he does, he's going to be going towards the 10 ball, isn't it? But he's called it. Oh!
All right.
Oh, Joey.
Taking my licks today, boys.
Well, so here's a comment that I would want to make, because I didn't. There was no intention of me coming in and disrupting the whole discussion about the pre-shot routine kind of thing. So Joey, ask yourself, shots that you are aware of that are difficult for you in your normal pre-shot routine, and run a comparison on, like, if you're.
Here's the thing: I don't view today as unsuccessful, and I think that's the thing. You know, I was talking to my kid about this today. He plays soccer, and you know, he's got a kid on his team that can juggle a soccer ball 250 times. And my kid goes out in the backyard and he can do like 50, but he's all with one foot, right foot. And I keep telling him, look, you're never gonna be able to do a high run, 100, 200, unless you incorporate both feet. You know,
Right.
And you're gonna take a setback. You know, it's like Tanner said, and I don't know if you caught it yet, Chris, but in the Pool Player Podcast interview, you know, it's more about process than results, right? And that's what this is today. And, you know, I feel like I can be successful with what you brought to me, Mark, but it's going to take time. And it might take more than, you know, I might not even feel comfortable in 2 weeks when I head to Tucson, you know. Although my opponents, if they watch this, are going to feel very comfortable.
You're setting up the long frame.
Yes. So this is, you know, there's a chance that I go down there and somebody sees this video and they're like, oh man, this guy can't play at all. And then I just snap them off a little something. But in all seriousness, I think there's a lot of value in what you said today, Mark. And you're right. That's that second set. I did get away from standing behind, eyeing the ball, planting the foot, getting into the pre-shot, which I think is probably why I went downhill when that second set. Like, I mean, after I lost a little confidence the first set, but getting into that second set, I really went downhill quick.
Here's a final thought from me, Joey, for tonight. I think what you've done tonight doing it live online is huge pressure. It's really, really difficult. That's number one, right? Secondly, what we set out to went by the wayside. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it went by the wayside because, you know, Chris is what he was telling you about the break was really interesting because I don't know the first thing about breaking. I don't really know much about strategy of pool. I'm purely about the fundamentals, really, and the technique and the striking of the cue ball. Somebody like Chris, I could listen to him for many hours because he can teach me lots. No, seriously, about the different drills. I mean, I wouldn't know the first drill to do to put into practice what. So it's like a golfer having a driving, a swing coach, a putting coach, a mental coach. It's lots of facets come into it, and I think Tam commented on that as well. It's many different things that build up the whole process. It's a process, as you say, of working on certain aspects of your game and then bringing them all together, including the mental side of it as well. And I think you've had a triple whammy tonight because doing it online, it's a whole new concept to you. And I would just like to add finally that I never got to do what I normally do with you. I've just had a message actually on my Facebook from an unknown person who I've never met before. He said, I really love what you're trying to get across. Do you do online Zoom coaching? Yes, I do, So I think I can help you, or I know I can help you. It doesn't matter. It's not even the pause that is the main thing about that. Is just one element of the overall shot routine, which I am trying to introduce to you. And it is a whole new concept, Joey. And as we started out by saying, playing for 41 years, look, but I know that and people do get much better by, if you've not got any better after 4 years, then you've got no chance of getting any better carrying on doing what you're doing, right? That's a given,
No, I
I
agree
would
with
say,
that.
right?
Yeah, that's
So
why
you
when I
have to
woke
change
up,
something.
Mark, that's why when I woke up this morning, because Chris, I have a private Facebook group, so for Patreon supporters now, I have this idea that I think is going to be kind of cool, where they can come into my private Facebook group, and I'm going to use this platform to interview pool players, and I can stream it live to that private Facebook group, and at the same time, I can then record it and edit it later for everybody else. And so I was testing things in that private Facebook group, and I put Mark in there as my guinea pig. And I shot for like 45 minutes last night, and Mark watched it. And I woke up this morning to 7-minute long, voice messages about things he noticed in my stroke, and it kind of hit me hard. And, we got some comments in here from like David Yonan, who's like, you shouldn't change what you've been doing your whole life 3 weeks before a tournament. Great point.
No.
He's probably
Yeah.
right. If I had any expectation to do well in the tournament, right?
And I did say this to you, Joey. Don't do it now. Let's start after. You can't do it before the tournament.
Let me finish. So my point to David is, though, I know I'm taking a flyer, right? This, like, if you look at the players list, there's a number of players over 800. Shane Fedor's in it, Sky's in it, a whole bunch of players. So my chances of doing any serious damage in this tournament, even with the old technique or me playing my best with my old technique, is probably not going to get there, But it might be this might be an opportunity that over the next several weeks, working on this new technique, getting in that event, and maybe putting together a few decent matches, even if they're losses, right? Don't focus on the wins and losses, focus on the process.
Yeah.
It might be something to build off of. And then I can say at this point, about to be 49 years old, hey, there's still hope for me. I can improve 20 Fargo points in the next 5 years. Or, hey, I do good interviews. So we'll just keep going.
or both.
Yeah, or both. Just work on my interviewing skill and try to get a ball better in that. But no, I appreciate you guys coming in, and I hope that you guys feel like there was value in it for everybody, because at one point you guys got a little like, and I just want to make sure that all is good, you know.
Oh no, it's all good for me because, like I said, it's an expression of an opinion. I'm always open for debates as long as debates don't turn into arguments, and we can certainly agree to just disagree and just leave it at that. You know, is I appreciate Mark. I've worked with Mark plenty of times with Nate from the Queue It Up network, and the sharing of ideas I think is where a lot of it's going to happen, because a lot of people are going to happen to agree with Mark. A lot of people are going to happen to agree with me. Some people might agree with both. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's all going to be what works for you. So you can't just hear one source of input and be like, that's going to be the one all end all. You got to hear it all and then work with it, experiment with it. And eventually something is just, the light bulb's going to go off, and then something's going to start working for you.
Chris, that just reminded me when you said Nate. I thought I was looking at Jim Telfer and Nate commentating a match, arguing about thoughts. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. No, but in all seriousness, I appreciate you guys coming in. You know, we've had over 20 viewers the whole time. I'm sure we'll get more than that. But I think people did appreciate kind of just hearing the different opinions that you guys have. And I think the backgrounds too. I've had you both on my podcast, although Mark, yours hasn't been released yet. It's coming soon. But I've interviewed you both, and you both come at it from a different angle. Mark, you know, more with the European style and the private coaching and the mental side of the game and the technique. And Chris more with the online, get it out to mass viewers, help the players kind of rise through the APA ranks and the league ranks and stuff. And you guys are doing great things for the game. So I appreciate you guys coming in. This was totally impromptu, guys, for the audience. Like, honestly, Mark and I was like, Mark, you want to test this out? You want to jump in here, maybe comment on my stuff? He's like, yeah, he jumps in. And then little Chris is like, hey, can I jump in too? And I was like, yeah, let's jump in. So, yeah, so I appreciate it, guys. And who knows, maybe we'll do this again soon. Hey, Chris, you could do this with your table, and we could have I could play.
I was just gonna say the same thing, that we can do the same thing with me. I mean, I've done plenty of live streams with me doing a 9-ball ghost scoring format kind of thing. But like I said, that, you know, in preparations for the Texas State Open, I got to start practicing with my template rack 9 on the spot break. And, you know, so I haven't live streamed in quite a long time. I just hit a personal goal of finally scoring 81 points out of a potential 99 using the format that I was doing. And I haven't pretty much live streamed ever since I did that goal. I'm still producing content. But like I said, in preparation for the Texas State Open, I'm probably going to start live streaming again and just doing some regular, it won't be scoring format. It'll be regular, you know, ghost format, because the Texas State Open is a race to 9. So I'll be doing like race to 9 practices against the 9-ball ghost with the 9 on the spot.
Yeah. Well, since you mentioned goal, I got to go, because I don't know if you guys know this, Brazil plays Argentina today. And this house
is
half Irish and half Brazilian. So we're going to be pulling for Brazil today, definitely not Argentina. So that's the Copa America. And then tomorrow's the Euro, Mark. Good luck to your boys from England.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys.
Chris, thank you so much, mate. It was a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to spend
It's always a pleasure, Mark. And thanks, Joey.
Great.
Thanks,
Joey.
See ya.
Cheers, mate. Bye.